Carson Wentz looks great. Check. Desean Jackson is still fast. Check. Miles Sanders is healthy. Check. The New York Giants still stink. Check. The Dallas Cowboys and Zeke Elliott drama's about to begin. Check. The Jadeveon Clowney rumors continue to pick up. Check. The Eagles are not only more talented than last year, but they're also healthy coming into training camp. Check. Kick the red, double move on the red. Everybody know King Ding back here. So the journey for the Eagles' second Lombardi Trophy began today as they held their first practice of training camp. Now, this was a very light practice. They didn't do a whole lot, but there were a lot of good things that we could take out of it. The first and foremost is Carson Wentz looks healthy. He looks great. He looks a lot leaner than he did last year and previous years. He really focused on nutrition and being healthy this year, and he lost some weight, and I think that this is a good thing overall. You know, I think back to the days of like Donovan McNabb, and it seemed like every year Donovan McNabb would concentrate on bulking up. He always wanted to bulk up, so he could take the hits throughout the course of the season. But it looked like at some point he lost speed, he got slower, and it just looked like at times McNabb was carrying too much weight. Then you fast forward to when Michael Vick played for the Eagles. One of the things that he did was he spent time himself with nutrition, with health, and he lost weight. And I think when he did that at his age, he gained a lot of his speed back, and it lasted a few more years. And I think Carson losing weight, he'll be faster, he'll be a little quicker, and hopefully he won't have to take too many hits. And hopefully he's a lot smarter about the hits he does take. But I like that Carson Wentz is concentrating on nutrition, concentrating on health. I like the fact that he's coming in a little leaner. I think it's a good thing for the Eagles, and it's a good sign that he put a lot of work in. And, from what we heard today about him in practice, he looked great. His arm strength was there. He threw some great passes. They kept talking about one specific pass, a 20-yard pass, where he threw it in between defenders to Nelson Aguilar. But by all accounts, Carson Wentz looks great. He looks ready to go. He looks locked in. He looks focused. And this is a big deal for the Eagles. Now, for me, my favorite thing of the day, my favorite news of the day, was the fact that Miles Sanders was out on the field. He was practicing. He was getting reps. He is healthy. Miles Sanders is healthy. And I think this is a big deal because I think that when a lot of you guys see Miles Sanders in action, you see him play, you're going to realize that this is a really, really good player. And like I said, I believe by the end of the season, I expect him to be the number one back. I think he's that good. But, if he has a hamstring injury, if he's hurt, early on in the season, that's really going to hinder his rookie year. So to get him back right now for camp and have him be healthy, that's a big thing. He's already got to play catch up with some reps and things like that from what he missed in the spring and in minicamp. But, by the time preseason ends, he should be fine. He should be right where he needs to be. But what they were saying today was Miles Sanders looks really good. He made some moves. He made some guys miss. Now, they weren't tackling, but they were just really good jukes and dodges that even if they were tackling, they would have missed them. And he broke some stuff open. And the one thing that kept coming out of camp today with Miles Sanders, and the word I kept hearing was fast. He looks very fast for a running back. He's very quick, and I'm super excited about Miles Sanders. And to get him healthy as we start training camp, to me, that's the whole thing of the day. That made my whole day, and that's the one thing I take out of anything day one of training camp is that Miles Sanders is healthy and he's participating in practice, and that's something that we really need from him. Now, there was also a lot of talk leading up to camp that Ronald Darby would be on the PUP list. Well, that's not the case. He's not on that list. Either is Brandon Brooks. Brandon Brooks was participating in some of the practice today. Now, there's things he's not going to be able to do, like certain drills and stuff like that. But, he was out there, he was working out, and he thinks he's going to be back early in the season. Now, I initially thought, oh man, this guy's not going to come back till like November or something like that. But he thinks he has a chance to play week one. And if not week one, it'll be the first couple weeks. Now, we get Brandon Brooks back and he's healthy and he can go. That is a huge deal for us. Okay, that would be a huge deal for us. And he is not on the pup list. Either is Darby. And the Big V, I believe, was playing right guard, was playing Brandon Brooks' spot today, which is very interesting. So those are two very, very good things that have happened. The Eagles, if you remember a year ago, when we started camp, man, we had Alshon, Brandon Graham, Carson Wentz. We had so many guys that were still banged up, that still couldn't practice, that had off-season surgery, that couldn't participate. And it was just crazy. This year, not as many. And the guys that are a little banged up, still, I think Fletcher Cox, Brandon, I think Nigel Bradham, he had surgery on his toe. He should be good to go. All these guys, it's nothing serious. They'll be good to go at some point. The only guy that we have to really kind of wonder about is Jalen Mills. He's on the physically unable to perform list. I don't know his timetable. They really don't know his timetable for his return. But what the Eagles did, they had Avonte Maddox and Rasul Douglas. They were basically your starting corners today in practice. They did move Avonte Maddox around. They had him play in nickel. He played in the slot in nickel situations and things like that. But it's going to be interesting. And Darby looks like he has a chance to start week 1, which is another fabulous thing. And when you look at the Eagles right now, then this team is not only more talented and deep than they were last year. They are actually healthy. They come into camp relatively healthy, a lot more healthy than they were last year. And this is very important. So the only guy that's on the pup list is Jalen Mills, and I think that's a big deal, especially compared to last year. Now, today was a light practice. They don't do too much, but there were some things that did stand out, at least that I read about, that everybody was talking about. One of those things was Carson Wentz and Desean Jackson connection. Carson admittedly said he's never played with somebody with the speed of Desean Jackson, and I think at one point he went to him 3 straight times down the field. He caught everything, and everybody's talking about it. And they've been talking about this all spring, minicamp, that there seems to be really good chemistry between Carson Wentz and Desean Jackson. This is a good thing. This is something that we got to love. The other thing that everybody was talking about was Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders impressed his first practice. Looks good, looks fast, and we talked about him earlier. This is another thing that I'm very excited about. Some other things where Marken Michel made some nice grabs today, and Sendejo at the safety spot, starting for McLeod, made a pick on Sudfeld, and that's really it. I mean, there wasn't too much because, like I said, it was a light practice. It's going to pick up the next several days, and there will be more to talk about when it comes, in terms of practice and everything going on there. So the first day of training camp is pretty much done for the Eagles, and I think it's a good start. I think we had a good start, a much better start than we had a year ago when we came in and it looked like half the team was still hurt. So, good start. It's only going to get more interesting as time goes on and as practices progress and they get, more intense. It's going to be fun. So we're going to keep an eye on all those kind of things. Now, there's 2 other things that I want to talk about real quick, and they're around the NFL type stuff. First thing is the Dallas Cowboys team. I guess they were flying to California, and one of the guys that wasn't on the plane was Zeke Elliott. Now, should the Dallas Cowboy fans, should they be panicking that Zeke is going to hold out? I don't think so. From everything I'm hearing, he hasn't really made a decision, and he can easily get there on his own if he needs to. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Zeke Elliott, because if he does hold out, I don't think it's a big deal. And like I said before, as long as he's not missing regular season games, if I'm Dallas, I'm not even worried about it. It's not going to take him long to get up to full speed. You know what I mean? It just won't be long. So it's worth watching as an Eagle fan, keeping your eye on the enemy. And look, Dallas may have a holdout situation with Zeke Elliott. Now, one guy that we know for sure is holding out is Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney is holding out of camp. He did not show up. And, I don't think Houston Texans, I don't think their coach was that happy, but what are you going to do? There's not much you can do. Now, shout out to EDP. He sent me something that was on Reddit, an article yesterday saying that basically Howie Roseman has been in contact with the Texans. He's been in contact to find out what they want for him and, basically just ask a question. Now, I expect the Eagles to do this. Howie Roseman will do this all the time. This does not mean the Eagles are going to trade for Jadeveon Clowney. It does not mean it. It just means that these rumors are going to continue to be out there. I expect the rumors of Jadeveon Clowney getting traded to continue to grow, and at some point, I think the Texans are going to have to do something. It's going to be fascinating to watch. And if for some reason, if he ends up with the Eagles, holy crap, that would be insane because of the dreams I had. That would be insane. But we'll see. I mean, would I like Jadeveon Clowney? Hell yeah. Is it possible? Probably not. But there are these rumors out there. There is this talk out there, and we got to keep our eye on it. So with that said, that is pretty much what happened today, day 1 of training camp. I will be back tomorrow with day 2. And with that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.